We're hot, they say. Hot in the building, and we got a couple hot guys here as well. Welcome to the 710 KURV Pulse of the 956, and we're doing our podcast on various platforms for 710 KURV, and it is political season. It seems like of late we've been doing a lot of these during political season, and you have a chance to share them and see them again. Get to know the candidates. This is the objective. This is objective. This is something that our candidates, they come and they hire us. They want to hop aboard the 710 KURV podcast. Let's go. Because usually when I do interviews on KURV, they're about 10 minutes long, right? 10 or 12 minutes long. And there's a lot more to say. We leave a lot of conversation on the table. So this format, this podcast format is more comfortable. So we're going to have a extended conversation with Sergio Sanchez. Sergio Sanchez. I'm Sergio Sanchez. Sergio Arturo Sanchez. That's me. You know, in all these decades that I've known you, Serge.
Yeah.
What is the J for? I never asked you, dude.
So, Dad, Jose Sanchez. Jose. Yes,
Sergio,
sir.
Jose Sanchez. Sergio, Jose. So I could call you Joe. Right?
Sure.
Right?
That's my dad, Joe Sanchez.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I could call you Joe. You call me Artie.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
I got you.
No, we'll stick with a Serge.
There you go, man. And that's fair.
I want folks to, and thank you, by the way, for calling us to do this podcast. This will be on our KURV.com website until Election Day. And again, and if you want to get to know the candidates, in this case, Republican primary. And it's important to remember that. We're in primary mode. Early vote will be on the 17th of February, first day. And then the election day is the 3rd of March. Texas primary is divided. Democrat Party votes their candidates. Republican Party votes their candidates. And we're at this moment, we're in the Republican primary in Hidalgo County, State House 41.
Yes, sir.
That's the seat that you hope to fill.
Yep. That's it. That's it.
Well, I want folks to know who you are. Like, let's start from the beginning. Like where you grew up, went to school, your family. Let's start there.
So let me. I'm thankful to have this more of a kind of a living room, kind of a discussion, more of a chat. I always appreciate the radio interviews, and it reminds me of Bill O'Reilly, and towards the end of his show back then when he was on Fox News, he would say, "Keep the comments pithy." And that was the term he used. And so you kind of have to calibrate yourself to your minutes that you get on the show. I like this more of an expanded format that you can open up a little more with the dialogue, and you get a little bit of more meat to the bone. And so I appreciate that. So thank you for having me, Serge. I jumped into the race. I'm a Valley kid, born in Edinburgh, at the old hospital. Born in Edinburgh.
The one that isn't there anymore on
It's right across
the name
Freddie.
of the street. Yeah, it's on Freddie Gonzalez.
Yeah, right across-
Freddie Gonzalez.
Right across
Just a
from
little
Ebony.
bit east of Klausner.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So I born there, really, really close in the shadow of the Edinburgh Police Department, right across the street from the Ebony Golf Course. Born here, family on dad's side, we're from Mission. And, I was sharing with you earlier on mom's side, we're Willacy County, and we can trace the family there to 200 years now. We're at 200 years. We're from Willacy. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm from the area. Well, it's a lot of generations. So, and obviously went away for a little bit and studied and, the things in life that where life takes us, but got back as quickly as I could.
Okay, so at some point, high school, like what'd you do when you were growing up? Like sports, music, what'd you do?
I did that. I mean, I was a baseball player. I played football. I was a quarterback on the football team, and I pitched and on the baseball team, and lefty. I think that was kind of my thing. I was just left-handed. It just hits you different. So that
You
was
lived my dream as a kid. I love baseball. Astros all the way, yes?
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Astros.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to be a pitcher. And yes, I'm left-handed as well. So you lived my dream.
No
growing up.
kidding, man.
I went the nerd route with the band. I was a band
I
kid.
got you.
Oh, well, that's it.
No.
So you did sports, high school. So at what point did you decide to do law? When you're going to go to college, like what'd you decide?
I grew up with that. I think I have a position of advocacy, and mom cultured that over the years. And I mean, just to kind of jump into it right away, mom was alone, raising us, the kids, and I was the oldest son. I was the oldest, and I took on. You're going to get some emotion immediately, but I mean, I took on that role.
Which is okay, by the way.
Thank you.
They say low testosterone, the other hormone increase. So yeah, we get kind of emotional.
That's fair. That's fair.
I do as well.
Yeah, and I don't shy away from it. But to speak up for mom, and to talk for mom, and she was alone raising us.
How big was your brothers and sisters family? How big?
Well,
How many kids?
it's the three of us,
Okay.
me and Rudy and Dee Dee,
Okay.
and I'm the oldest, and Dee Dee's in the middle. She's an architect in New York City, and
Nice.
Rudy's just the king of computers downtown Houston. He's the baby, but so I was the voice of my mom, and that's where the advocacy started, and I took on this role, little chip on my shoulder, and I mean, it just forces you to kind of grow up a little fast, and mom cultured it, and she was proud of me. I could tell, and that's where the advocacy began. It was literally, mom was a single mom raising the three of us.
Yes. Sergio J. Sanchez is running for State House 41, Republican. I need to emphasize that. We're in primary season. You vote in the Republican primary. You will see that if you live in State House 41, which is in essence like North McAllen, a little portion of Mission, a little portion of Edinburgh State House District 41, Sergio J. Sanchez is running to be the nominee so that come fall, he is the Republican on the ballot against the Democrat, whoever they decide to choose on the Democrat side. We're getting to know the candidate a little better, him growing up and advocacy, of course, single mom, you got your brother, your sister, you're the oldest. Who was a mentor in your life in high school or in college? Because at some point you needed that direction, or did you have lawyers in your family already? So, I want to be like Theo or Primo or something like that.
So the Theos for sure. And as I've gotten older, I recognize that they were filling in for a role, and Theos that were in business and Theos that were farmers, and they would step up where there was other areas that were lacking in my life. And so at the time, I didn't really realize it. I just thought, hey, this is a cool uncle, or this uncle pulled me aside, or hey, I'm out here in Hargill, right on the edge of Hidalgo County, Willacy County, on the farm, and here we are in a tractor, and I'm going to spend. But it was to help mom, out, and she needed the help, and her brothers really stood up, and it's a huge part of my life. It is, and it's I stand on the shoulders of those giants.
Mom still with us?
Yep,
Okay.
she is. She's here. So she worked in Houston a lot of years. Life forced certain things on her, and she moved on to Houston, and we spent some years in Katy, and mom stayed behind, and so she was in Houston for 40 years. She's back. She's here. Mom lives here in North McAllen, a mile away from me, and I'm happy to cook, and I get the grill going and stuff, and I'm always
What a blessing.
yeah. So and
You still
so
have her, man.
my payback is I get to take dinner to mom every now and again, and
You're so blessed.
something simple as
Yeah.
I that's my way of paying
To
back.
have her down the street real close.
Yep.
And just be able to take dinner or
Sure.
lunch or
and
have her
it's
over.
wonderful, and it's
Yeah.
wonderful to both of us.
That's wonderful. Sergio J. Sanchez is running for State House 41, Republican. You will see him on the ballot if you vote Republican. I can't emphasize that enough. I have friends of the community say, Serge, remind everybody, it's two streets. One is Democrat, one is Republican. And because sometimes people make the mistake, they go straight to one end and say, hey, where's the candidate? Yeah, that's why. Republican Sergio J. Sanchez. He's running for the nomination, running for State House 41, and we're getting to know him in this 710 KURV Pulse of the 956 broadcast, which we'll get a chance to repeat and put on YouTube and on X and put it on LinkedIn. I think we're going to do that later on as well. Okay, so we're up to college years now. Did you major in something that would take you towards law, or is it something else that you majored in?
It was different. It was different. I always knew I wanted to go to law school. Mom and I talked about this. And so, then it turned into, okay, here I am at undergrad and study what you love. Study what you love. For me, that was science. That was biology. So I was a biology major here at Pan Am,
Okay.
UT Pan American. Now
Did you excel? Did you do good in that?
I did well.
Yeah?
Yeah, for sure. I did well. Dean's List and all of that stuff within my major. I did really well with biology. I loved it. I really loved it. It was not going to get me to medical school because I had intentions of doing other things. And so I studied what I loved, and I was into the nerdy world of plants and insects, aquatic entomology and fish. And we were down to the island, and I was knee deep in marshes here at Moorfield Air Force Base. I recall those days. Really in the weeds of plants, bugs, and fish, and obviously you get into anatomy and other things and the microbiology and all of this stuff. And then we studied evolution, but I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Well, you could have easily been advocating for dolphins and cow chiggers, but now you're advocating fighting crime.
But I'll share this. I as a young prosecutor, my background, it was really in the labs. In the labs, you get a certain amount of data, and you analyze data.
There you go.
No different than a police report. And you come up with a conclusion. And so there are the hypotheses, and so you come up with, you follow a case no differently than you follow lab results.
Yeah.
And so there was a good connection, and it was good training. It was really good training. I think it made me a better prosecutor.
You know, that scientific method, you take that template, apply it to a
Sure.
case that you're building, especially as a prosecutor, I imagine. So, okay, so take me, where did you go to law school? And initially your career, how did it begin, like in law?
Texas Southern University, Houston. There's 3 law schools in Houston: University of Houston, South Texas College. I went to Texas Southern University, HBCU, historically black college. They took a chance on me. This was a time, the case back then was Hopkins, and this was a Supreme Court case, University of Texas. And this had to do with race. Can it be used as something that might get you into law school? And so I was caught right in this area, and I didn't have a lot of opportunities going in after Hopkins. And Texas Southern University took a chance on me, and it changed my life. And I made the best of it. I mean, I excelled in school. Take the bar, you pass the bar the first time, and they changed the direction of my life. So I'll always appreciate that I've attended a historically black college, and it's something I take a lot of pride in, Serge. It really is. And so you hear these discussions on funding for the HBCUs and all of these things, and people don't realize that HBCU, but for the Latino legal community, go hand in hand, because they've launched a lot of families and lawyers, and it's something that I take a lot of pride in. I graduated, it was the University of Miami, was I think number 1, or UT Pan Am for undergrad for Latinos, for launching Latinos of degrees. So I think we were 2 at the time that was the spring of '96. The HBCU that I went to, Texas Southern, was number 1 at producing Latino law degrees.
Okay.
So I was number 2 in the nation undergrad for Latino university, and number 1 in the nation for Latino law school. I take a lot of pride in that. I do.
Your first gig, your first job as an attorney.
So interning, Harris County District Attorney's Office.
Oh,
yeah, they're downtown
Wow.
Houston.
Yeah, what a
Yeah.
baptism by fire, man! You went into the big pool. You went to the deep end of the pool in Harris County. Wow.
I'm sure the number's bigger now, but they had 400 prosecutors back then. Other than Cook County, which is Chicago,
Yeah.
Cook County, Harris County was number 2 in the nation for the number of prosecutors at that office. It was huge. I did that for a little bit, intern, and started here, Hidalgo County, shortly after.
Yeah, I got to say, if your first gig, late '90s after college, after getting your law degree, was Harris County, and I'm a Houston boy too. Around that time, Delia and I got married, and we moved to the Valley. But as a young teenager in early college, I was Houston for me. I knew Houston was in those days was much more proud conservative.
It's changed.
And it has changed. And it's a case study on how, political changes, ideas, a flight from the city to the outside, cultural rot,
Suburbia changed.
yeah, all that things.
Yeah.
It's something that should look at. Anyway, that was a very different. So you went into a very conservative-minded, fight crime culture in Harris County.
Can I ask a question? What part of town were you from?
The working side. My dad barely a fourth grade Mexican education, but he was a Mexican engineer. He had a solution for everything, and that fed my ungrateful mouth for many years.
Were you off of 45?
225.
I got you.
Deer Park, Pasadena, South Houston.
I got you.
That was the area, Southeast Houston. The working man's war, Refinery Row.
I know. I know the area.
You were in Katy. Your mama was in Katy.
I was on the west side. Yeah, but it was different. Now Katie's so different now. Katie's so different now, but back then it was far away from
you
Houston.
You could carve Katy out. So many people, the freeways are so, it could be like its own state, Katy, outside of Houston.
You would drive 15 miles and then you finally hit Highway 6. It was really, really isolated, and it's obviously so different now.
It is very different now. Sergio J. Sanchez is my guest on this 710 KURV Pulse of the 956 podcast, and you'll have a chance to rewind and get to know this Republican candidate for State House 41. He's seeking the nomination. You guys who are Republicans, you need to vote on the Republican side. Go find his name and go support him if you wish. Choose a candidate for State House 41. So we're getting to know the candidate in this podcast form. So first gig, Harris County Prosecutor's Office. You wind up in the Rio Grande Valley, Hidalgo County, right? That's where you started. So you kind of did the pivot and you started working over here.
It was time to come back home. And
late 90s, early 2000s.
It was 1999, May of 99, started here. I think June 1 was my first day, but passed the bar May of 99, and June 1, we started here. And, you jump in, and the DA's office right now is exploded. I don't know. It's probably tripled in size from, there was 25 of us at the time. And I'm sure they're approaching 75 or 80 now. If you want to think about it, it's by far the largest law firm in all of South Texas, the Hidalgo County District Attorney's Office, if you want to think about it in that sense. So I enjoyed my 6 years that I was there. One thing about the number 25 is, a big chunk of those were kind of administrative duties or presenting cases to grand jury and doing things behind the scenes. But I was a line guy. I mean, which just means you're in the courts. I was always in the courts. And I was able to elevate quickly just because of the numbers. And there was some retirements and there was some movement, and some prosecutors were appointed by the governor at the time, who happened to be George W. Bush, to get to these newly created courts. So it created opportunity for me to advance very quickly. I was doing murder cases within 6 months, Serge. It just created an incredible movement. And it was my goal to try cases, and it was my goal to deal with big cases, and it was my goal to deal with high-profile cases. And all that happened really, really quickly.
Is there a case that sticks with you, that has stuck with you all these years?
Yeah, I was involved in capital murder cases, and I was involved. So, that's the obvious. I was involved with a team of prosecutors that the ultimate punishment was carried out. And I haven't, my partial involvement on an execution case. And it's something that weighs heavy with you over the years. So that was a really, really ugly case. I've seen the ugliest, the nastiest of things. But what really stands out was a young lady, a victim of to a child. And I prosecuted that case, and her father ended up going to prison. He's going to die in prison. And she handed me a gift afterwards. She collected rocks, and she handed me her favorite rock
Oh my
to
goodness.
say thank you, to me. And it stays with me all these years later. It's been probably 20 years, and it stands out to me, Serge.
How many years did you work as prosecutor?
I was there 5 years, 8 months, the best years of my career, and I gave it everything I had, and I did really well. I prosecuted cases that I believed in. I dismissed cases that I didn't believe in, and that's the authority that the prosecutor has. And it shaped me to be the best, I think, attorney that I could ever imagine.
Being on the border, you know the issues that are, on the ground.
Sure.
Illegal immigration, drug smuggling, cartels, gangs, all that stuff. Your exposure as a prosecutor through the years, I'm sure you saw plenty of traffic related.
For
to
sure.
that.
And I'd sit across the table and I'd shake the guy's hand. Hey, man, I'm going to try to send you to prison for life. I got a job to do. We're going to sit next to each other for these next couple of weeks, and we'd be in front of a jury. And that's just part of the business. And it's not unique to me. There's men and women right now doing it as we speak. So, yes, I sat across the cartel guy. Yes, I sat across the worst prison gang guys. I would deal with this. And you doing your job. You're just doing your job. And it made me comfortable in difficult situations. It made me comfortable with cameras in front of me. It made me comfortable to just present the truth and to expose the truth. And there's a lot of translation from that experience to my first ever dipping my toe into politics. It makes me comfortable to do these things that I'm doing, and I can make a connection. And it gives me a good foundation, Serge.
Your roots in baseball, and I was going to say, like in the field of prosecutors, I wonder if maybe there's like a batting average, boxing win-loss ratio, things like that. Do you follow some? Is that something you guys follow? Because before it goes to trial, there's so many different processes, and then eventually a case goes to trial. So I figured, well, in most of the cases, you guys were successful. You and your team successful in prosecuting cases because you had to line up everything.
Yeah,
for
so
the
I'm
case.
competitive. I mean, we all are, but I'm competitive, and I had. I'm not aware of any prosecutor that's ever had a perfect record. But I was nearly perfect, and it's something I took a lot of pride in. But it has nothing to do with perfection. It was more, I lost one trial in all of the 50 that I tried at the DA's office, and it would happen to be the very first one that I did. And then I went on a little run of about 5 years, and I sent a lot of people to prison. But it's more of to be selective and to work cases out that need to be worked out, to dismiss cases that merit dismissal, and to go to trial and be firm on what you believe in. So I really learned a lesson on that very first case. I made a mistake, and it never happened again. And so I'm proud of my record, Serge.
What is your opinion of the present culture that we see? For example, let's go back to Harris County. Prosecutors' offices across the nation, the big ones. George Soros has funded a lot of very leftist, lenient, soft on crime prosecutors. Man, I don't know where this culture came from. If not to say, maybe it came from hell itself, from the deepest reaches of Hades. This mindset, voters are very upset and impatient. They didn't know who they voted for, and they sent very soft on crime DAs that were very well funded by leftists and Marxists like George Soros. So I want to get your opinion on this turnstile mentality, this social justice mindset that has infested prosecutors' offices in big cities and is worming away at the American culture and prosecution.
For sure. I was in Houston. My son plays college football at Texas Southern University, where I went to law school. He's a field goal kicker there. Incredible Division I athlete. So I was at one of his games, and I was speaking to one of the Houston police officers that was working security there downtown Houston, where the Tigers play. And he mentioned, I said, hey man, what's it like with the DWIs? You know, I'm in Hidalgo County. I used to be here, and now I'm down there. And he's like, they get rejected. They get rejected. We'll make an arrest for DWI, and we'll get them to the county jail, and they get turned away. They say the guy's got high blood pressure. They say the guy, we don't believe in these facts. We believe it was a bad stop. They say these things. The case gets rejected at the inception. What you're getting at, and that's just a DWI. And he goes, it's just gotten to the point where it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time because we can't even get him through the county jail. So the case stops before it even starts. And it's a huge thing. So portray that forward to burglary of habitation. Portray that forward to indecency with a child or anything of violence, much less somebody that may have an immigration detainer. So to speak to George Soros, this speaks to the heart of what Governor Abbott is describing as these elected district attorneys need some oversight. And I agree with it. I agree. We don't have that problem here in Hidalgo County. It's not an issue. It's not an issue here. But there are metro areas in the state that there does need to be some oversight, because you can have a situation of a runaway district attorney and it affects safety for the community. And I've seen it. I'm giving an example of just a DWI. Extrapolate that forward to everything else. It's a problem.
Yeah, and there's another movement. This goes back probably about already help time pass about 15 years. The move toward getting rid of bond, cash bond. Sure. Like, pobrecitos, he doesn't have the $1,000 for DWI or beating up his wife or something like that. He's low income. Get him out. That's social justice. Well, you got to have some skin in the game. Yeah. If you do the crime, if you're going to do the time, or you're going to wait there, cool your heels in jail. At least you won't be out there, beating up people or driving drunk again. I don't understand where this comes. I hear it. They say, well, they're poor, they're low income. So, well, con más razón. There's even better reason now to make sure that they understand there are consequences
for sure
to behavior.
Yeah. So you get to recidivism with this, and the repeat offense, and the repeat, and the repeat, and the guy that just gets out of TDC or out of the county jail. So the lesson learned on this is the path of least resistance. This guy that's going to get out, that just picked up a burglary habitation or something violent with no bond. So in his mind, he's just going to think the next one would be the same. And so how often do you hear something horrible happened and he happened to be out on bond from something previous? I mean, you hear that so often. And it just creates a culture of this recidivism.
Yeah.
And it's a horrible problem.
Yeah, you can just hear the victims down the road say, oh, gee, thanks. Thanks a lot
for sure
for letting them go.
And things in general, they go the wrong way. Things go down. They spiral downhill. Things go down. Things don't get better. They get worse. So whatever this one crime was, the next one in general is just going to be slightly worse. And it spirals out of control.
Republican Sergio J. Sanchez. He's running for nomination, Republican nomination. He's running for State House District 41. That is a North McAllen area, and also a little bit of Mission and a little bit of Edinburgh. Again, you'll need to find his name on the Republican.
Don't forget
primary.
the brothers and sisters in FAR. There's a little carve out.
When I was chairman of the GOP back in 2014, I still see it in my head. Yeah. But yeah, I know it's carved out a little different.
It's really carved out. Yeah. I'll never understand the lines. I'll never understand the concept behind that. But the communities are incredible. It's the heart of the county, and I'm happy to jump in, Serge. And this is my effort now to distinguish myself from a crowded field. Forget the primary side. On all six, on Republicans or Democrats, it's time to distinguish yourself. It's consequential. It's important. There are huge issues at play. The life of the unborn child, our Second Amendment rights. I'm happy to speak to all these things. Obviously, property taxes is huge on everyone's mind. But as I've gone through this issue of life has really jumped out, and it's become a point of people of faith. And I want to make it clear that we'll never dial back. At least if I'm at the State House, I will never dial back our existing law. I have every intention of strengthening our existing law regarding the unborn child.
I've had a few chances to ask on that faith, your faith, a part of your faith growing up now. So tell me about where you are.
Catholic, for sure, not the perfect Catholic,
No,
Catholic nonetheless.
Yeah.
And I confess my sins, and I pray for forgiveness, and I'm thankful that God sent His Son to save us from our sins. I'd be at the first of the list as I raise my hand. I am a sinner, but it raised. I was raised to understand that God knew me before I was born. Mom taught me these things, and that's the foundation of this law regarding life of the unborn child. God knew us before we were born. You asked about faith. I believe in that, and so I have every intention. There are others in this race that don't agree with that. There are others it's striking on the Republican side that in disdain and disgust speak to that men have taken away a woman's right to choose. And the answer is yes, it's true. They have. So have women. It's called the legislature. They passed a law that abortion is illegal and it's banned in Texas. The governor signed it. And I have every intention of strengthening that one exception that exists to make sure that there is an emergency appellate review of every life, the child, which at the very least should be the exact same as an appellate version of review for every life on an execution. And I'm involved in both. I've put people on death row, and now I'm fighting for the child. And they should each receive the same level of scrutiny and review, because there's only 2 sanctioned deaths in Texas. Mm-hmm. One is called execution and the other is called abortion. And we need to treat this issue with that level of scrutiny, because we are dealing with lives. And they're the extreme, Serge. The extreme here is that you're dealing with the most evil and the most purely innocent. And so I want to really draw that distinction.
You've made that comparison before in a radio interview. The strata, the different levels of appeal for somebody that receives a capital punishment judgment. And man, even the highest court of the land, there's so many different appeals process before that. And yet for the unborn, undelivered child, there's nothing like that. And you mentioned what you want to set up. Okay, let's look at this. For the sake of saving the mother's life or something like that, something that is, indeed. So
we pray for mothers, and there are areas of hypertension, and I've spoken to the doctors on this. It's very limited situations where the mother's life is at risk. It gives the impression that it could be so many things, that it could be diabetes or that it could be anemia, or no, it's a very limited thing. And I don't pretend to be that expert. This is for the world of doctors, not judges. This is for the world of emergency room surgeons to review at an emergency level within a matter of hours. I understand the nature of this. So on the execution side, 10 years pass from the jury's verdict, and a jury has come down and levied a sentence of death on that individual. In general, 10 years pass. The original district court that presided over this trial has jurisdiction and can review writs of habeas corpus. The 13th Court of Appeals, also in the county, has authority to review this. The Court of Criminal Appeals in Austin, that handles the appellate version of all criminal cases at the state, has authority. The governor has authority. The governor has authority to stay in execution. And obviously the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. at a federal level. Many levels over many years, a decade, before the execution is carried out. Why is it, obviously not 10 years, but even if it's 10 hours, why can't we have appellate review if you're going to take the life of an unborn child? And so the fear is that you have a runaway doctor that might give a diagnosis to a mother and just merely say that her life is at risk. Let's test it. This needs to be scrutinized. and we'll put this in the hands of medical professionals, and that's what I plan on setting up.
Okay. All right.
And we need some structure, Serge. We do need more structure.
One of the topics that, as I've mentioned to you and many other candidates that are on the Republican side, there are certain red meat issues. You touched on one, which is life, protecting the life of the undelivered child. The one that gets a lot of play is property taxes.
Sure.
And the present system that we have, the governor has a proposal. Okay, why do we need to do it yearly? Let's stretch it out. Why do we have to tax these people? The lieutenant governor has as well. So from your perspective, let's say voters do send you up to Austin to become the state representative for 41. What do you want to do with property taxes?
Happy to answer that. If I could just put a little cap on that last discussion.
Yeah.
I really want to distinguish myself on this issue of life. There are others in my race. Her name is Sarah Hammond, that wants to expand this issue of abortion, and I want to tighten it, Serge. And I've given my word that I'll fight to the gates of hell for the unborn child, and it's even calling out what I believe to be extreme hypocrisy in this race. I'm thankful that the other gentleman in the race, Mr. Groves, has adopted this what I've put forward is kind of this emergency appellate review of these doctors that are the best in the world, I'll put our surgeons up against anyone in the world. They're capable of handling this level of review. I just really wanted to end it on that. To jump to property taxes, there's out of control spending, and our city commissions and school boards and any taxing entity, they're very, very good at spending your money, and that needs to be clamped down. It goes hand in hand. You can't hand back property taxes to people unless it coincides with a reduction of spending. So those two things need to go together. That, in my opinion, goes beyond the governor's plan. The governor, you mentioned appraisals. He wants to limit the appraisals to not once a year, but every 3 years. I would propose every 5. And he wants to limit the possible increase of the appraised value. Texas law authorizes up to 10% per year, up to 10% next year, and the same the following. He wants to reduce that to 3%. I'm at 1.5, and to space this out every 5th year. So that's one. That's on the appraised value of the properties. But two, more importantly, is referendums that you and I and everybody in town, we can have an auditing process, and we approve or not approve, put up to a vote, budget increases, and these needs to be in the area of supermajorities of 2/3 of the voters. So that it's a legitimate plan to clamp down costs, to control out of control appraisals, and that's how you reduce property taxes. And 100% of that should go back to the people.
If you listen to Talk Radio KURV, this is a subject that makes airwaves quite a bit. There's a former mayor of South Padre and business owner, hotelier. He's got a PAC and he's trying to inform on that same messaging. Try to find. Sure. It seems like it's a wave that's building now, going into the next legislature. I found out through him that California and Massachusetts, and it's embarrassing to say that those proposals, they've been in place in California. They only do appraisals like every 5 years, 3 to 5 years, and they cap it. They index it to inflation, like between 2 and 3%. Sure. That's going to get a lot of airplay next year in the next legislative session. Right now, we're not in session. We don't get to address these issues until next year, 2027.
Well, I'm hopeful on day one, HB1 should deal with, in my opinion, first the unborn child, immediately after property taxes. That's the order of things. And I'm familiar with this plan. And this kind of coincides, I'm dating myself, but the contract with America that Newt Gingrich put forward back in the day. Yeah. And so he's adopted similar language. I have as well in my plan. It goes beyond what Mayor has mentioned. I'm familiar with what he stated. I want to adopt a new concept called taxpayer protectionism, similar to consumer protectionism on the federal level. Just kind of a rework the way we think of government. And it needs to just be, rather than this top-down, cram down your throat situation, just give authority back to the people. This is the way our country was intended, going way back. to George Washington days and the creation of the Constitution in 1787. We the people. It starts with we the people. And so I just kind of want to inject that discussion back. And it's a dated concept, and it's obviously 200 something years old. I get it, but what's the problem with this? And nobody has complained as I propose these ideas out on the campaign trail.
Sergio J. Sanchez, Republican. He's running for the nomination. He's running to be the nominee. He's running in the Republican primary. And if you live in State House 41, State House of Representatives District 41, you voting in the Republican primary, you will see his name there. And he's here to give you a chance to get to know him a bit better, his background. We talked a little bit about some of the policy ideas, some of the things that that are foundational in his beliefs. You've been saying a lot of late about the Second Amendment and gun rights and where you stand. And what do you see the legislature do anything else? Because we're pretty good in Texas when it comes to gun rights right now.
I agree. And really, it's just to protect what's existing. We have federal law, we have state law, we have Supreme Court precedent that protects a very basic constitutional right. And I have to say, I'm shocked that someone in this field, on my side of the aisle, on the Republican primary side, a primary opponent of mine, Sarah Hammond, as I've had to generate these videos and put them out, produce what her previous statements regarding AR-15. Why do they sell these weapons? These are weapons of war. It's a semi-automatic rifle, and it's you deploy the trigger once, and a cartridge, one round is expelled. It's the definition of weapon. Those are illegal. That is a weapon of war. It just happens to look like a menacing rifle, but nonetheless semi-automatic. She wants them gone. She wants them gone. She wants to limit your guns to 2 guns per person, unless there's some very limited exception. So I'm against that. I think that level of discussion is antithetical to the Republican platform, and I want to make very clear to the voters of District 41 in this primary that I will be a champion for the NRA, that I will be a champion for the Second Amendment. No, I'm in violation of her proposals. If she were to be governor, if she were to be able to sign into law, I would be in violation, and I've confronted her. Who do you plan on sending to take away what you have proposed? Because I'm in violation. So is my son. So no one's going to come for your guns, and you need someone with a steel backbone to, at the very least, put forward. I reject what you're saying. It is literally against the Constitution. Just to point that out. And I've been broadsided. For bringing these things up on her position of abortion, on her position of guns. And I do so without apology, Serge.
The culture war. Back in the 90s, when I guess you and I might be around the same age, of course. Well, back in the 90s, people would laugh at you on the left when you bring up concerns about, boys and girls sports, men and women's restrooms, and then women's sports and all that. Oh, that's never going to happen. And look where we are today, having to legislate protections and barriers for that. Anyway, I want to get your comments on the president's state of the culture war. We saw it inching this way, and now it's a real fight.
So a couple of things. I have 2 daughters, and they are in sports, and baby's just barely getting into it. But for sure, Sophia, and in middle school, and no, or in the restroom situation, and no, I mean, common sense issues, common sense, and the way my grandmother's raised me, common sense things, and boys need to be boys and play in their sports, same for girls, and there's nothing wrong with that. Same for the Olympics, same for any endeavor, and it's okay to say these things. And so I want to just say, Donald Trump. This shows his influence, that you can just kind of say, enough is enough. This is ridiculous. And he has, I believe, that the way he fought through twice, that we can just say, can we have some common sense? Can we be adults on these discussions? I reject all of the silliness. I just reject the shame factor, and I'm not going to be a phobic of anything. And so I'm thankful. I'm thankful to the president that I can speak like this with confidence, and yeah, it's just normal discussion. And the shame side of thing, I know leftists and progressives are very good at on kind of this shame factor, and it's okay to just reject it, Serge, and I'm happy to do it, and now you can do so with confidence. Thank God, this is the result, the consequence of a huge election. Had Kamala Harris won, or had Hillary Clinton won, where would we be? Where would we be on these social issues?
Yeah.
Because it was sliding down so fast. And so that's where I really would like to point to the consequent, how important that those presidential elections were.
We have receipts. We have examples. Everyone who, at one time, if you did not agree with the edict from the state, and COVID revealed a lot of this, the mandatory shots, the soldiers were kicked out of the military. In healthcare, you have to take it or else you lose your profession. The improper use of pronouns, you not accepting their belief, the 50 some odd, I lost count, whatever genders that they have. It's just lunatic ideas,
Sure.
no common sense. But the objective is to impose, enforce, even by edict of law. There are examples. Ireland, look what's happening in the UK, that you cannot push back. You cannot criticize the open border, their rapes and crimes, or they'll put you in jail. You use wrong pronoun in Ireland, you'll wind up in jail as a teacher. We see enclaves in Canada doing the same thing. They're waiting on the sidelines. These radical leftists waiting. I'm convinced they're waiting on the sidelines for an opportunity to get power back, and with a vengeance impose everything from DEI to their use of pronouns, their ideas of we saw under the Biden administration, and it's coming. And if people don't vote, they don't pay attention. They're not, they don't police their vote properly. Yeah, it's coming back.
And I see it. And so, if I'm blessed enough to get to the State House, that's not going to happen in Texas. That's not going to happen. And it's DEI and everybody has a right of their pronoun, but you don't have a right to my response. I have my choice, and I can recognize what I want to recognize or not, and I can respect a pronoun or not. And you're not going to tell me that you're a boy one day and a girl the next day, and you're in the world of ridiculous, and so that's not going to happen in Texas. I don't think it's our culture. For sure, it's not the culture of District 41. There may be others in this race that disagree with me. I'm in the world of common sense. I am thankful for President Trump, but this gets to the point of how consequential these races are. They really are, because you can slip really quickly, and you end up like the UK. And if you post something, you may get arrested for a felony, or if you call out, like I did recently, what I see is a disaster in Minnesota, and the clear corruption of the Somali community, that I might be bigoted for saying these things. I'm not. There's not a bone in my body that's bigoted, and I'm not going to be silenced on calling things out. I used to put people in prison for what there's happening in Minnesota, and so yeah, it's a slippery slope, Serge, and you can just simply reject it, and you fall back on common sense and decency of the community.
Yeah, I say on the radio all the time, you got to be vigilant. It wormed its way into our culture. There was a friend who's a physician, and at the institution that he worked with, for simply saying, passing by a group of people and saying, "Hey guys." He got called in. God called in for training, re-education on assuming the gender. And that was halfway through the Biden administration, when all this craziness just whirling. We have plenty of examples of the left when Twitter was owned differently, deplatform, demonetizing, taking people down for expressing an opposing point of view, and bringing with him experts on whatever it was, science of genetics or blood, or that was such a scary time during COVID. But you could not say anything against the state, and you got demonetized, deplatformed for something like that.
Yeah, so I mean that is food on your table, and that's a family, and that's a salary, and so that can't happen. That cannot happen, and we're a capitalistic society, and people deserve to run their business and say and speak freely, and you cannot be shut down. And so obviously there's a new form of economy online and through these platforms, and you can't backdoor your way into DEI and silencing you to the level of where you're not going to be able to have income. That's never going to work in Texas, and I'll fight like hell to make sure I prevent it.
There's so many other topics we could touch, but we'll save it for. I know you told me you're coming back probably pretty soon.
Happy to.
We got
Serge.
early votes coming up on the 17th of February. It's from where we are right now. So that's not very far away, and the actual election day will be March 3rd. And there's so many other topics like.
Well, we could speak to business expansion and franchise tax, and I'm happy to get into those levels of discussions. And
term
others.
limits.
For sure.
Advocacy on behalf of taxing entities. One of the most conservative senators in Austin. He's running for, I think he's AG, very successful senator out of Houston. The first piece of legislation that he always introduced without success in Austin was to limit the ability of, let's say, cities or counties or water districts or to hire consultants with our tax money to go to Austin to, in essence, fleece the taxpayer more or restrict the liberty of the taxpayer and the owner even more. It's like a taxing entity taking tax dollars, hiring the consultants to create more law and restrictions and regulations and taxation.
It's incestual. That is incestual, and you're within yourself. And you're lobbying yourself. You're essentially and some of these lobbyists are the representatives and the senators themselves. Yeah, I know this to be true.
Term limits, like I mentioned the other one, and let's close on franchise tax because it's kind of tied into the whole property tax.
So how do you explode the business? Texas is number one for a reason, but how do you make what's already good even better? So I adopt the governor's plan on this one issue, and right now, let's just say you're a business. A mom and pop business, and you bring in $1 million. You bring in $1 million gross sales for your business. Well, the franchise tax, which is just merely a tax that the state imposes for the privilege of doing business in the state of Texas, it's waged against that top line number, $1 million. And what I'm proposing is to subtract out your expenses. For me, that's Google. For me, that's wages. For me, that is the light bill, and that is the cost of doing business. It might be up to half, and you're left with a profit. So the franchise tax should be applied not to the big number, but to the profit of the business, and it'll be an immediate. It will cut in half, for the most part, this franchise tax. And the question is, what do you do with the money? What do you do with that savings that you've just the benefit that you've just received of this reduction? You're going to expand your business. You're going to expand your business. And so I think that's a good thing. That's more employees. That's more houses. That's more mortgages. For me, I might expand to different cities in Texas, get back to Houston, keep my office here in McAllen, and expand to Houston and maybe Brownsville. And that's more employees, and that's another car payment. And that's how you grow the whole community. So that's just one issue on business that I think would really explode the state.
Continued success in life, in your law firm, in your career. Thanks for the call to have this conversation, extended conversation.
Thank you,
and
sir.
We're looking forward to the next one.
I'm happy to keep it going.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to continue to speak to truth, and I'm going to get right past kind of the broadside attacks. And I was told to dial things back, and my instinct is to do the opposite. And it's all gas going forward, Serge.
Website or other places folks can...
SergioForTexas.com. It's a good name.
Okay.
Sergio for Texas. SergioForTexas.com. And it goes through my platform and it goes through my posture.
You interact there, or do you do like social media interaction on
Well,
X or something else?
you'll see that on the various social platforms,
links
and
on
I
there.
respond. You send me a message, and I'll respond.
All right. And I say this to all the candidates. Thank you for running,
Thank you.
because like all people, solid people, they care about their community. They have a career, they have a family, they got bills to pay, kids soccer practice.
Sure.
And and then they take up another full-time gig and running for office. God bless you. Thank you for setting the example.
Tocayo, I appreciate the invite. We'll do round 2 next time.
All right, brother. Sergio J. Sanchez, Republican, running for State House of Representatives, seat number 41.